I was sure I was going to be a rancher. Absolutely.
A
Hands down, I
rancher?
was a rancher.
Your manicured hands would not make a rancher.
You know,
Come on.
I've gotten some dirt under these fingernails.
Welcome back to the BOBcast. I'm your host, Bob Riney, President and CEO of Henry Ford Health, and I am thrilled to have you joining us today. The BOBcast is where Detroit's future comes into view. It is where you'll hear the big ideas, bold voices, and crucial conversations that are shaping our city, our region, and beyond. Real and unapologetically focused on creating a stronger, more vibrant future. With grit and grace, this podcast introduces you to the relentless visionaries who are driving change and tackling some of the biggest challenges we face today. I am so happy to have a friend, a colleague, and really one of the most transformative leaders as it relates to bringing downtown Detroit to the best version of itself last year, this year, and the years ahead. He's the CEO of the Downtown Detroit Partnership, Eric Larson. Welcome, Eric.
Well, that's pretty high praise coming from you because I think the same about you, Bob. Thank you. This has been long overdue.
Well, you know what? There's a number of us that are rowing in the same direction for our great city, but you lead an organization that has been around, and I'm not sure people are aware of the fact that it's been around for over a century. It's gone through many shifts in leadership, but its long-term presence has been a stabilizing force as we now are entering into a really exciting journey for downtown and the greater Detroit community for that matter. But tell me a couple of things. One is, when in your career did you form a love for downtown Detroit?
Well, it's interesting because I didn't grow up here. As you know, I grew up on the East Coast, married a Detroiter, and both of my girls were born in Detroit. I think I really found my passion for Detroit when I started my real estate career, and one of the first projects coming out of the ground was One Detroit Center, now Allied building in downtown. It was the first skyscraper to be built probably in the last 20, 25 years. And for me, service has always been a big part of it. I'm a son of a Presbyterian minister, and my father was deep into service and community. And Detroit is a place that you can do that. And so when I started on the project team for building One Detroit Center, it was at a time when Detroit was probably at almost its worst place. We were trying to finance that $250 million project, and we had some Japanese investors coming off the plane with the New York Times Magazine calling Detroit America's first third world city.
As violence spiraled out of control and Detroit hemorrhaged people throughout the 1970s, Detroit became the
murder capital of the United States.
Those who had the means to flee.
I sort of looked at that and I said, this is just wrong. This isn't the future for the city. Fast forward, I'm in a position now, thanks to your leadership and many others, where not only am I standing on some broad shoulders, but I also have the ability to work with some incredible minds, some great opportunities, and really think about how the city continues to move forward in a way that is inclusive and really focused on making sure that it feels right for everyone.
You know, your reference to that New York Times article really reminds me that there are a lot of us that hit a tipping point and just became absolutely fed up with the narrative about our city being so negative. But we also decided we can't just blame the authors. We have to look in the mirror and figure out what we're going to do about it. And I remember like it was yesterday, a column that Mitch Albom wrote, a national column, telling the nation Detroit was sick of being the gum on the bottom of your shoe, and challenging people to be a part of the solution.
The people of Detroit are very resilient people. We don't break easily. We've been told we're going to die before, and we haven't. We're still here. I'm pretty confident.
We're not going to have this define us. And under your leadership, DDP, the Downtown Detroit Partnership, has been a major force. What excites you when you think about downtown Detroit today, and what still keeps you up at night?
Oh, I think the thing that most excites me is the momentum that not only we have seen, but we are continuing to see. It was great leadership in the public sector, the private sector, and incredible foundation support and leadership in this community that said, we're going to do this differently. We're going to not only change the narrative, but we're actually going to change systematically the way the city operates, the way the city is viewed, and ultimately where the city is headed. And it's not just in the downtown. Obviously, we've seen some great things in the downtown. I think about what Dan Gilbert has done, what the Ilitches have done, what clearly you're doing here in this incredible campus. I pulled in and saw, the steel already topped out.
My favorite view every morning.
It's got to be. I mean, just, it's like a big erector set right out your window. But it demonstrates the future. It demonstrates the momentum. And so that's what excites me the most, is that we have found a way to work as a community, to work cross sectors, and to really think about those things that are most critical to create the sustained opportunity and the sustained forward movement. What keeps me up at night is exactly that. How do we continue to maintain that? How do we sustain this growth? How do we make sure that it really truly is inclusive and that it's embracing everyone? And that if someone's coming into the city of Detroit, they're reacting to the city not as a visitor, but as somebody that belongs.
We also have to navigate this balance between, is all the excitement in downtown for what some call the new Detroit, and how much of it is for the citizens themselves? And it took place on social media with the fireworks and a lot of the parks being closed off to the public. Understandable concerns that, is this an event for private parties or is it an event for everybody? And of course, it's an event for everybody, but access becomes an issue. I think, to your point, we want every development in the city to feel a sense of pride and ownership, no matter whether you live in the city, you live in the greater region, or you're visiting, because it all produces economic value, which lifts us all up.
Well, not just economic value, but social value. I think a lot of what we've talked about, Bob, we're thinking about what are the things that are working in downtown Detroit that can be replicated in other parts of the city, much less other parts of the region, but also what are those things that we need to do in order to lift the entire city of Detroit and the population and the residents up? We have the opportunity to rethink and re-envision the way this city moves forward. And that should be including everyone that is part of this city, and everyone should be part of this great experiment. But we have to be thinking about what are the new set of standards that ultimately we're going to have to be able to deliver to the population throughout the city. But I will say, things like your comment about the fireworks, unbelievable night. Showcase the city as best as it can. But there are some realities to how you control great concentrations of population. How are we continuing to make sure that families feel safe and really truly inviting? And so sometimes it does mean that there is a restricted area, but it doesn't mean it's because it's restricting the individual from participating in that event or that experience. It's more just that we're trying to think about how to create a safe and really truly enjoyable and inviting environment.
So I want to take you back to the cool factor. What are 2 or 3 of the cool things about downtown Detroit, or experiences you can have that you bet today very few people really fully know or appreciate?
Well, I'm not sure that everyone in this listening audience is going to know that every Friday night we have a family movie night in the center of the downtown Campus Martius.
And that name is
Shrek.
Thank you very much. I'm here till Thursday.
Mike Myers.
USA Today's #1 public square, 3 years running.
The movies will be playing throughout the summer at absolutely no cost.
The economy is hard for a lot of people, so offering things like this for free is really nice for families.
There are special moments and special places throughout the downtown, much less throughout the city. We have a network of green spaces that we're working on really being within 15-minute walk of any resident in the city. The other unique opportunity is the local flavor that downtown Detroit and so many of the other downtowns that we've talked about in these other neighborhoods. I think about the Avenue of Fashion and the way that's come back.
Welcome to the Avenue of Fashion, an amazing 5 blocks of Black-owned businesses that line Livernois in Detroit.
It's called the Shop.
Our food scene is absolutely on a whole nother level.
Detroit is a foodie city on the rise, welcoming a new wave of destinations for food lovers as the city renews and redefines itself. From Detroit,
it is getting recognized globally, but I think the most important thing that people need to recognize is that it doesn't matter whether you want to come down for a big sporting event or come down just to enjoy the day. There is literally something for every age.
How do you motivate a business, even a large corporation, to get excited about doing more than just having their corporate office in the city, but really doing things that connect and touch the heart and soul.
We've had some very large development opportunities in the city that have taken decades to really see. The toughest of our customers are those needing to better understand that it's not just the bottom line in terms of dollars and cents. It's the bottom line in terms of the longevity, the quality, and the ultimate sustainability of the city that will make their business not only flourish, but stronger, but also their heart grow in terms of their ability to give back.
If you come in with authenticity and you really want to make a difference, and that means getting your hands dirty, like Detroiters do, then I think it's incredibly welcoming.
The other thing I would say is there is something about Detroit and about this underdog mentality. I think about sports.
Absolutely.
Who do you root for? You root for the underdog if you don't have a dog in the fight. Detroit is very much like that. And so those of us that have been in the fight, been at the front and really focused on how we can make sure that this is continuing the momentum, have that muscle memory that, you never want to go back there.
We all saw that last year when the Detroit Lions became America's team as they got deeper into the season and then into the playoffs.
Ball game. 34-31 Lions.
They became America's team exactly for what you're describing. They have had a historic fix on being the underdog, but they showed a lot of determination, a lot of just sort of get your hands dirty and work the problem kind of ethic, that grit, that resiliency.
And Bob, we had a coach that was his authentic self. He starts off his first press conference saying he's going to bite the kneecaps off.
We're going to bite a kneecap off and we're going to stand up, and then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down.
It's that kind of passion. It's that kind of genuine empathy for what's going on around you that works.
I've always thought that one of the greatest things about Detroit is that we border our neighbors in Canada. And, at Henry Ford, we have 1,500 employees that commute every day across the border. Putting all politics aside, there's great energy on both sides of that river of doing things together. Do you see downtown Detroit continuing to welcome that population from Canada and help them understand that we're one connected place for entertainment, for social gathering, and for supporting of each other?
Windsor-Essex is an incredibly important, not only economic engine for this region. I mean, $150 billion of trade goes across the Detroit-Windsor border. Over 6,000 new cars and trucks are going to be coming across the Gordie Howe Bridge when it opens. Auto parts, a car that is being manufactured, the parts and the process cross that border 7 times on average. So we are inextricably connected. So at the Downtown Detroit Partnership, we've been working with Windsor-Essex on a whole host of different things. We just announced a 40-40, 40 things to do in 40 days, so that we're continuing to remind people that there's a reason to go both ways, not just come to Detroit for a great hockey game or sporting event, but also go to Windsor for the kinds of things like the noodle shop over there is some of the best pasta. So, we are continuing to reinforce that, but we also are continuing to reinforce the fact that what's happening today in terms of the politics and the rhetoric that we've heard isn't going to last. And quite frankly, we can't allow it to divert us from what we ultimately know is in the best interest of the Great Lakes region, and that's we're better together.
Let's talk a minute about leadership. Where did your leadership philosophy form? At what point in your life?
I had amazing mentorship growing up that was focused on service. That was ingrained at a very young age, but I also was always instilled that I have 2 ears and 1 mouth for very good reason. I'm supposed to listen more than I speak, and I try and do that. The other thing is I am very aware of the fact that I don't have all the answers, and there are a lot of people that are a lot smarter than me. And why not? Isn't it a lot more fun to hear what their ideas are and understand different perspectives? I think diversity of thought, diversity of experience, obviously diversity of race and religion, all of those things contribute to a much more rich dialogue, but also a much more successful outcome.
I want to take you back a little bit. What would your 25-year-old self anticipate your career path was going to be?
Oh, I was sure I was going to be a rancher. Absolutely.
A
hands
rancher?
down, I was a rancher.
Your manicured hands would not make a rancher.
You know,
Come on.
I've gotten some dirt under these fingernails. My grandparents had a gentleman's farm, which I thought when I was young was the largest farm in the land. If I had to think about what I would tell myself back then, I would say run to Detroit. Anyone that is anywhere in their career has an incredibly unique opportunity to effectuate the future of this great city. And to me, if you have any kind of interest and or energy, it's the best place to be.
So as we wind down, Eric Larson, the CEO of Downtown Detroit Partnership, the next 5 years, what do you want the headlines to say about our city? And what role do you think DDP will play in those headlines?
My view of the future of the city is it's a place that everyone is welcome. We're rethinking education. We're rethinking employment. We're rethinking our manufacturing DNA and starting to transition that into a knowledge economy that really actually does work for everyone in Detroit. So for me, this future of Detroit is extremely exciting. We will be the place that continues to not only develop the best forms of mobility going forward, but also some of the most incredible social interventions the country has seen.
I want to thank Eric Larson for your leadership. You keep that beautiful head of silver hair because, you know, we need you another 10 years running this DDP hard.
As long as I'm doing it with you, Bob, the best part of this job is that I get to do it with people not only that I appreciate, but that I really genuinely have a friendship with. And this has been a godsend. I'm blessed, and I appreciate this opportunity.
All right, Eric Larson, thank you for being on the BOBcast. You know, what really struck me about the conversation is Eric's a very humble leader. I've had the pleasure of knowing him for a while. He doesn't require the stage. He's happy to work the scene behind, but he's an incredible thought leader. And one-on-one, he is a person of great influence. So, you know, he goes into a lot of CEOs that are really trying to run their companies, and that's their main focus. And he convinces them when he leaves that they also have to run this broader community as part of their civic role. And he gives them specific paths that they can take. You know, the events that we are having downtown, both big and small, there's something for everybody. If you enjoyed this episode, please click follow so you will never miss a future episode. Share us with your friends and leave us a 5-star rating and review, which will help others find us. If you have suggestions for a topic or a guest, email us at bobcast@hfhs.org. Remember, every action we take today is a step towards the future we're building together. Let's keep striving, keep believing, and keep moving forward. Let's use positive momentum to carry us through an era that's filled with troubling questions. Until next time, take care and keep making a difference.